You're live, but is it even working? I got no audio. Let's see if we got audio. Let's see. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Audio. Okay, so that's working. There we go. Okay. This is something that was told to me about 12 years ago, and at a kitchen at my dad's kitchen table at our house in Perth. So, just a little background, I guess. And in all honesty, I don't care what you think. Let's get that straight as well. I'm just telling the story the way it was told to me. So there you go. So my father's somewhat of a rebel. Traveled all over the place, did all kinds of crazy things. His friends, no different. One of his friends is like, helps arm rebels and Contras and all that kind of crazy stuff. So, and that's as far as I'll go with that. So it goes to about 12 years ago. We're at the house, and one of my dad's friends shows up, and everybody. Well, I can't remember if it was winter or summer, but him and my father and him were sitting at the kitchen table talking, and the couch for the living room is like right beside the kitchen table. Okay, so you're listening, you can hear everything. I hear him start talking about a Bigfoot. So I get up and I walk over and I sit down at the kitchen table, and my dad's friend, he says, yeah, he says, there's a military base just around North Gower. And it was like, yeah, so what? He says, so me and my buddy had a house that's around the military base, and he has a couple of Honda Odysseys, and they used to go. Honda Odysseys are those like like a quad, okay, back in the 80s, early 80s, the first quads you could call them. Anyway, they had two of them, and they used to drive all through that North Gower area, the bush, the woods, and everything like that, right? And one day when they were coming back, and they would drive along the fence line, because at every military base they always keep the fence line nice and clean. At least 10-15 feet away from the fence is usually a road that circumvents the whole base. But anyway, it's usually clean. So these guys were using that fence line to run their Honda quad runners back and forth, right? And there was they'd been going by this place so many, and they had noticed these buildings that were in the base, and they weren't attached to the ground. They were sitting on like blocks, he said, big concrete blocks, and so they were going back and forth. And his buddy says to him, he says, let's go check out later on tonight. We'll go and check out what's going on over there. These two crazy guys, anyway. They ended up getting some bolt cutters, and they cut the fence open, and they walked. These buildings weren't far from the fence, and they walked over to the buildings, and my dad's friend got up on his tippy toes and looked into the little window. There was a window he said it was about 6 inches by about, 3 feet, but it was very small. And when he got up and he looked inside, sure enough, there was supposedly a Bigfoot sitting there. And then he started to describe like he got excited when he saw this thing, right? And The first thing he recognized, he said the thing was sitting on a bench. He said the whole inside, if you've ever seen the inside of I guess a correction institution would have something like that, where all the furniture is molded into the walls and everything. Everything's molded into the building. So your bed is molded into the wall when it comes out, right? So he said the thing was sitting there on the side of the bed, and the first thing he said to my dad, he goes, "Kenny, you should have seen the size of the balls on this thing." Now, you think about that for a minute. This is this guy is pretty heavy duty, like mob and mafia and you name it, and that's as far as I'll go with that. This guy's heavy. He's in there, and he's talking about the balls on this thing. He said they were huge, huge balls, and he said it was about 8 or 9. It looked to be about 8 or 9 feet tall. Was super wide. Said it was like 3-4 feet wide in the shoulders. No neck. Right? And so they got down. And they went over to the other one. There was another building, and they looked inside there, and there was a female. He said you could see the tits. You could see the hair on the tits. Okay, on the breasts. Now, they both get in there. They both take off out the fence. They get on their quads and they fuck off. The next day, they get a visit by the military commander, and 2 big guys. I remember him saying that. He said there was the base commander in a like an SUV, and he said there was a green pickup truck with these 2 monster military guys. He said he was like 6'6", 6'7", 350, 400-pound guys. Man, they were huge monsters. And the base commander walked over to Kernel and said to him, "We know you were in there last night, and blah 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 blah. And if we catch you in there again, we're going to come back, and you'll just disappear." He says, I'm not gonna sit here and split hairs with you. He says, "You'll just disappear. You'll be another statistic of a missing person," is what the base commander said to the 2 boys. Well, one of them, not my dad's friend, but the other guy, ran into the garage that was attached to the house. Had a rifle in there for some reason, I guess. Anyway, the kid come running out with the rifle, and one of those big guys grabbed the kid and just about killed him with it. Smashed him in the face with the butt of the rifle, took the rifle away from him right out of his hand, hit him in the face with it, knocked him to the ground, stood on his neck, and while he was standing on his neck, this guy was looking at the base commander while he was standing on the guy's neck, and then the base commander was telling my dad's friend, like, "You come back here again, and you guys are going to be gone." Disappeared. Don't want to hear about whatever you saw or what you think you saw or whatever like that, he says. But if you go back into the base, you're going to disappear. So that was quite the story, man. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to this guy, and from what I'm told, the person that's telling me the story does not lie. Okay? This person does not lie. Period. Okay? These are very quite the people. Okay? They're the underworld people. But these are people, heavy people. Right? And yeah, I was, like, I'm listening to this and I'm looking at my dad, and nobody's laughing. You'd think people would be laughing. It's a Bigfoot story, right? Nobody's laughing. My dad's not a real, but if the right people tell him facts, he'll believe you, because if you trust somebody, what they say, you believe them. Well, that was the way it is with these people. Okay. Man, that window is really doing a number on that camera. So anyway, I don't know, what was that, 12 years ago, 14 years ago, that story was told to me? Well, today I was going to get a coffee, and I bumped into another friend of my father's, and this guy was kind of like Italian heavy duty. They had safe houses. Enough said. They had they rented places to have to hold meetings, so they know that the meetings are secure meetings. They have the place. The place is cleaned every day from top to bottom, looking for bugs and listening devices and stuff like that. Anyway, they have these houses. They rent them at this time. I know I was at a couple of them. You sit down, you shut up, and you listen. You don't say a goddamn word because it's not your place. So anyway, so I bumped into one of my dad's friends again today. And he was telling me he's a very spiritual guy, really nice guy, part of the Italian mob or mafia or something like that. Anyway, super heavy, you know what I mean? Like people shooting each other and stuff like that. Anyway, crazy stuff. So we were talking, and he's pretty religious now, this guy, and all his friends are passing away, and you can tell this guy used to be a really excitable guy, and he was full of piss and vinegar when I first met him, and now he's like an old bottle of wine. He's aged well, humble in his appearance, and you know what I mean, and like I said, very spiritual. So he brought up the Kernel's name because when my father was passing, my father called Tony, and they were talking, and I guess my father was talking to the Kernel and all his friends, and before he passed, and yeah. So anyway, I'm kind of lost right this second for a second here because I'm thinking about my dad passing and shit like that. I'm trying to continue with the story. And so from my whole childhood, not really my childhood, but my younger years, I was told that you don't mess with this person doesn't lie, you can always count on this person if they say something, blah 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 blah, right? So like I said, I met my dad's friend today, and part of the Italian people of that world, and he brought up the Colonel's name, and I said, did you ever hear the Bigfoot story from the Colonel? And he goes, what's Bigfoot? Okay, what's Bigfoot? So I explained to him. I said, it's when we were growing up in school, they showed you the evolution of man from an ape. He's walking slowly, going upright, standing upright. I said the Bigfoot is just a split off of that. Somewhere in that evolutionary step, somebody took a right turn and kept going, and everybody went on their own separate ways, and the Bigfoot stayed Bigfoot, and man evolved into man. Don't start yelling at me. I told you I don't care what you think. It's a story, okay? So I say to the guy, I said, did you ever hear of the Bigfoot story from him? And my dad's friend looks at me and he goes, from the Colonel. He says it like that. You heard that from the Colonel? And I was like, yeah, we was at the kitchen table. And he's not laughing. He's super serious. He says, you heard that from him? And I said, yeah. He says, he looks at me and he says, he doesn't lie, eh? Like that guy don't lie. That's this guy's straight up, okay? He don't lie. So this story is a true story. So the Canadian military had a male and female Bigfoot on ice, alive, in North Gower, Ontario, just outside of North Gower, Ontario. Little, and I mean a little shit spot in the middle of nowhere. It's 15, 20 minutes out of Ottawa. It's a little town, and then you go off into the right-hand side, and you're going to start going into the bush, and that's where the base is, right? So, yeah. So 12, 15 years later, my Bigfoot story gets verified from a completely honest person, oblivious to Bigfoot by the sound of it. But the story is true. It's been verified. I just verified it because, and I knew this person was never lied, and really hardcore people, and I was very surprised to learn that it's true. It really is true. I knew it was true. I just couldn't really say anything because there was nobody to verify it. There was nothing to verify. But I could verify the man's word. So, and like I said, there was other people that said, they looked at me and said, "This guy said that to you? That guy. Yeah, that guy." And they were like, "Whoa, he actually said that shit to you? He doesn't lie about anything. You know that, eh? This guy, this guy does crazy things, He's been around the world, and he's probably held every kind of weapons that you could hold in your hand. He's probably held everything. Just saying. This guy is somebody." So yeah, that guy sat at my father's kitchen table, and without a smile or without a giggle or a laugh, he told us this story, and I believe the story to be true. I just got it verified that the person that told the story is upright. And so the Canadian military had a male and a female Bigfoot stashed in the North Gower base about 14 years ago, just outside of North Gower, just outside of Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. Imagine that. Oh, and here's a little tip. He said about a month after the base commander showed up at his house, he said there was helicopters in and out of the base, constant for about a week straight. And when they went back to look at the base, it was vacant. The base is vacant. And from what I'm told, to this day, you can go to the base and you can see the telephone poles where they cut them with a chainsaw about 1.5 feet off the ground. You can see the old roads. You can see the bricks where the buildings, those concrete, those buildings that they looked into that the Bigfoots were in. If I'm not mistaken, he had said that they were like prefab concrete. They were all one piece. Remember, I told you they were the furniture was molded into the inside of the room. The room was concrete. You couldn't get out of that. I didn't give a fuck how big you were. You're not getting out of that. Like, you would kill yourself trying to explode the walls to blow a hole through the wall to get out. You would kill yourself doing it. So, but yeah, that's my Bigfoot story, and hopefully somebody hears it. So just to let everybody know, in the what is it, 2024 now? So back in 2000, around the 2000s, give up a little, down a little. That's when the Canadian military had 2 Sasquatches in captivity on their military base, witnessed by my father's friend who doesn't lie. And yeah. So there you go. My Bigfoot story. Kind of cool, huh? Enjoy. And like I said, if you don't believe it, that's your prerogative. I'm just telling a story that I was told. And have a great one.